we're back with episode 6 of our first-time homebuyer class. If you have not seen the other episodes, obviously highly recommend going back and looking at those, or this one won't make any more sense.
Fantastic content.
That's
Need to
right.
go back and watch.
For sure. All right, so like I said, this is part 6. So all of our other parts of determining now, we've got our financial readiness. We've picked out the house. We've started our criteria. We've gone through all the steps. We've started touring houses. Now it's time to make the offer. This is the fun part. This is the maybe not the most fun part, but it's the exciting part. It's definitely the stuff we get nervous about. So before we make that offer, we just finished touring houses. You guys have pictured yourself there. You see your kids growing up. You see where you're grilling out. You see where your friends are coming over. You see where you're living.
Put yourself in the home.
That's right. That's right. Now you come to us and say, hey, this is it. What do we offer? We always talk about there's 3 different prices out there. We've said this in a couple other. There's the asking price, there's the offer price, and then there's the real value price. So the first thing that we're going to do when you say this one's it, look at it, we're going to pull comps for that house. We're going to try to do a really quick market update. How is the neighborhood selling? How is the city selling? How is the county selling? What factors, how much competition could we have? Low inventory has been an issue in our local market for a long time. So we've got to pay attention to all the financial backing of what's going on so that we can position ourselves in the best place to make that offer. So first thing we're doing, a quick market update. We're going to pull all the comps. We're going to pull the condition of the house, compare it to the other houses that have sold. The other part that we got to kind of be careful about, and we'll get into this a little bit more, is the appraisal, right? So we want to make sure that we can position it in that we're asking the right price to make it a win on both sides, but also that we can justify that to an appraiser to give us that real value there.
Correct. Yeah. When we're looking at those comps and conditions, I think it's very important because you'll have a neighborhood with 600 homes and you'll have 3 somewhat similar properties. One's asking 600. So when this seller put their house on the market that we are looking at, they were like, well, my neighbor's house sold for 600. I ain't taking a penny less. They put theirs on for 600 as well. We've toured it. We like it. It fits our needs. Is 600 fair though? Because this one's in a lot worse condition. So I think that's where your real estate professional is going to come in, and they're going to be able to look at that and truly compare those comps and conditions. Because we talk about Zillow in a former video, and people are always like, well, my estimate says it's worth this, and that's not correct at all. Because that's pulling everything that's sold within a certain radius, and none of those are actually comparable in condition, size, or price. And so I hate, like, they'll compare a trailer to $1 million mansion, and it just doesn't work that way. So get you a real estate professional that knows the market, can pull those comps and conditions for you and truly explain that value. Don't take their word for it. I want to sit down and explain it to you so that you understand where I'm coming from, so that we can determine that fair offer price on the property.
And then we want to construct the offer that wins, right? Obviously you want the house, somebody wants to sell it. How do we make that work? But an offer, I mean, there's more than one way to skin a cat, so the analogy says, but there's a lot of different ways to write that offer, whether we ask a higher price and add some closing cost assistance, some of the loan costs that'll be in there, whether we offer lower and know that we're going to put some money into it to raise the condition. A lot of different factors in there, and a lot of different ways that we can construct that. And as kind of the running joke is, it's really easy for me to spend your money, right? You tell me you want to spend it, I can write that really quickly, but that's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're doing the best for you guys and constructing that and explaining it all to you so that you're involved. You know what you're paying. You know where these costs are. We want everything to be as transparent as possible when we're doing that.
Correct. And sometimes being a first-time home buyer, you don't even know what questions to ask. Like, what is an option for me to even get here? I read a fun statistic the other day that was talking about asking off the listing price. People always want to feel like they've won a deal. So they'll take $10,000 off the listing price. Well, you can do that, but that doesn't change your payment but what, $100 a month? Yeah. Somewhere around there, a little less than that. When you do that, well, you can take that same $10,000, give them the price they're asking for, ask for $10,000 in closing costs to do a rate buy down, and save yourself $200, somewhere around $220 mark at today's rates on that same loan. So again, your lender will talk you through those, and if that's an option for you, and if that's something you might be required to do. So again, having the right professionals is key to making this process smooth.
But the only way to make that work is if the value's there, right?
Correct.
And we don't know if the value's there unless we're doing all those other things. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. And that goes back to the closing costs. Like we said, it roughly costs you as a buyer in closing costs 3%. So you're talking title costs, lender fees, all of that. Prepaids. We might not have that in pocket after our down payment, so we might have to require or request that from the sellers. Not all sellers are going to agree to that just because you need it, but it might be something we need to ask for to make our situation better, because at the end of the day, again, we want this to be a win for you as our client. And if you buy a home and get into it and have $0 in your pocket and an HVAC goes out or something like that, that's your responsibility at that point, which we've covered in another video. So I'll digress.
Yeah. So next part, we've talked about how to construct the offer as far as the price goes. There's a lot of other, we'll say, contingencies inside that offer that we can ask for. Sometimes you'll have a sell of home contingency. I know that's not, we're doing a first time home buyer class, but that is some contingencies that you need to pay attention to. Almost always, depending on the market, you're going to ask for an inspection contingency. Give us a time to get a professional in there, look at the bones of the house, look at the crawl space, at the attic, making sure everything functions correctly. We could have financial contingencies in there. So all of this, you put in a pot, stir it up a little bit, and make sure that we're constructing the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about, I know you hear about those contingencies, you're like, oh my goodness, what does that even mean? Inspection, financial, appraisal. So can we kick through those real fast?
Sure. Yeah.
So when you get to your inspection
you
period,
don't have to kick. You can just
you
talk
normally,
about it.
you're normally going to have a 10-day window, roughly. It depends on what you write in the contract. There's sections for that. A 10-day window is roughly what I ask for to complete those inspections. That's anything from your home inspection, radon inspection, termite inspection. What else we got in there?
Sometimes
really
mold,
any inspections.
If you HVAC, mold.
If you want to have the septic inspected, you'll do all that within that inspection window. At the end of that inspection period, you've got some choices here. We back out of the deal because of that inspection. We ask for products or different portions of that to be fixed, or we move forward the way it's presented.
As is.
Yeah, as is. So that's the end of the inspection window. And once you've agreed to that inspection window is done, minus your final walkthrough, which we won't dive down all of that. Again, we're trying to give you the 90-foot view or whatever it's called. And then you're going to move to your appraisal next. Appraiser licensed by the state is going to go out and look at the property, and they're going to make sense of the value that the selling agent came up with and the buyer agent wrote an offer for. And they're going to comp that off of other products in the area. And then they're going to provide a uniform appraisal report to the lender. And then that goes to you as the buyer to look over that. Sometimes the appraisal can come back at value and require repairs to be made. So that's something that you'll have to talk through with your agent once that comes up. Then you have your financial. Say you lose your job or something comes up and you can no longer afford to buy a house. If it's something from your doing, tough.
Yeah, that's right.
But if it's something outside of your control, you do have that financial contingency as well. So very important to have a professional agent on your side that understands this, understands the importance of timelines, which we're going to get to in just a minute, and can really walk you through that and hold your hand. It's so much information. It can be overwhelming. We've done it so much that it's second nature to us, but we try our hardest to make sure we bring this to a level at which you can understand every facet of it, because at the end of the day, it might be your first time, whereas it's our 150th time, even more than that. But so we're really good at breaking it down to make sure you understand exactly what's going on, what deadlines need to be met. And I think that's a great segue into our next section.
Sure. Contract to close. So this is the section. We have a wonderful person on our team who makes our life a lot easier. I learned very early in my real estate career what I was good at and not good at. And the I don't want to say the details because the details are important, but the getting it from we made the great offer, we've negotiated all the great terms, we've got win-wins or win for us. Now bound contract, next steps. So we turn this kind of over to Tana. She's our transaction coordinator. Her job is, well, I guess let's just an overview and then we'll kind of break it down a little. So her job is to make sure that we take this contract and get it to close. She helps us follow all our timelines, gets all the supporting docs together, puts it to compliance, make sure compliance pushes it off, identify any potential problems. She's the one kind of scrubbing it, um, making sure that there's no issues.
I think it's important in everything in life, whether it be marriage, work, anything, communication is key. So within our transaction, we are very big on communication. So anything, if you are working with us, anything that you do as far as your transaction is concerned, it's not only is it me, it's me, Eddie, and Tana, included all on the same email. That way, at any point in time, if anybody falls off of that, whether it's vacation or sickness or anything, the other two can run with it. So I think it's very important to communicate because there are so many deadlines throughout a contract, whether it be a 10-day home inspection contingency, 5 days to get your financial life in order, getting your appraisal ordered, which goes through the lender, but making sure that that's scheduled in a timely manner. There's just negotiating, repair, that so many things that come up, and it's so great to have that person because while we're out showing and writing contracts and doing all that, it's great to have someone in the background truly keeping you on task and making sure the communication is number one with your people.
Yeah, we NAR, the National Association of Realtors, released something not too long ago, and it talked about the task a realtor does in a contract, and it was like 174, something like that, from start to finish, right? That's through the beginning to the end, and we would say Tana, the transaction coordinator, she probably takes care of about 50 of them. So we're doing some different things, and we're all working together, making sure those. One of the things that I think is really important. This is through my career. We looked at these, a couple of years ago. I think we said earlier, 92% of all contracts with agents come to closing table, and it's back and forth depending on the year and the market. So we'll just say 10%. So about 10% of all the contracts out there. When we did that, it was like Davidson County and the 9 surrounding counties, so greater Nashville area. About 10% of all contracts fall through. We did some stats on our own contracts in that same timeline, and we only had 2% fall through. Some of that, I think that the majority of that is because we've got a team. We've got multiple people double checking, triple checking, going through our checklist, going through those timelines. Basically, we're doing everybody's job for them, and then we're ahead of them. And then one thing that's so good about our contract to close is we all are, but we're looking for those issues. We're correcting those issues before they come up. So it's as smooth as pie. Cake, ice cream.
They're all smooth.
Smooth.
Yeah. I think it's, to me, the communication is the biggest part. You don't want to ever feel dark within your own home buying process and feel like you've been left out of communication. It's so easy for Eddie and I as doers to just fix it, and you never even know it exists. With Tana, she makes sure that the communication is streamlined. Everybody knows what's going on at all times, and that you're truly involved in your purchase, and you know what's going on, what deadlines are next, what's going on with my home inspection, when is that scheduled. All of that's communicated clearly and professionally straight from us to you.
And it'd be impossible for us to go through that whole checklist on here. We don't want to be respectful of your time. So just know that all that stuff's happening in the background. You can be as involved or as little involved as you want. There's a place in our checklist that find out how involved you want to be. Do you want to know everything? Do you just want to know where to show up and when to sign? Which brings us to closing day.
Yeah, absolutely. Closing day, great day for all parties involved. So if you close with us, I'm sure most realtors do this. We will be at the table to make sure if there are any questions, any finalized questions asked that or need clarification, that we're there to help you answer those, because you obviously don't want to get stumped sitting at the closing table. But past that, your lender's going to have prepared you for everything you need from there, what amount you need to bring to closing. You'll have that either wired into your title company or have a cashier's check for that amount day of. You're going to sit down. I tell everybody, make sure your hands are stretched, because you're going to sign your name about 487 times. That's a joke. but you are going to sign your name a lot. And it's that signature gets real sloppy by the end of that package. And but yeah, all of that will go over. They'll sit down and go through an itemized list of everywhere you can see where that money went, if you got closing costs, what that money covered, and exactly why the amount you brought to closing is the amount you brought to closing.
And that's the fun day. That's the day we get to take pictures and celebrate.
Hand the keys off.
That's right. That's right. And
give you a present.
It's really nice for us, but sometimes it's a little tougher for you because that's sometimes moving day too, right?
Yeah.
We're usually busy after closing, so we can't help with moving. But
I always ask everybody after closing, what are you doing the rest of the day?
That's right.
They're like, moving. I'm like, oh, that stinks.
That's right. That's right. Well, so that is the end of section 6. Section 7 is something that is maybe a little more personal for our closings or our team, but that'll be our next video. So make sure that you're paying attention for that.